In this video, we're going to discuss a little bit about creating purchase orders. There are two types of purchase orders, a part stocking purchase order and a general purchase order. A general PO is used for purchasing of supplies, sublet invoices, and things of that nature. First, we're going to start with standard part stocking purchase orders. Currently, we have the purchase order list dash not fulfilled. These are all the outstanding POs. Now what we mean by fulfilled is that if you order several items on a purchase order and you receive a few of them but not all of them, then that purchase order is still not completely fulfilled. Once all of the items have been received and accounted for, then the purchase order becomes fulfilled and will appear on this screen here in a different color. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see that we start off with the purchase order list not fulfilled as a default. We can go into the fulfilled and into the voided. And we're going to talk about fulfilled and voided in a few minutes. But the purchase order system is really based on the purchases that are not fulfilled at this point in time. To start with, we have several invoices here that are either not ordered or ordered. And if we were to scroll down, we may even find a few that are partially fulfilled, like in this example right here. Now using the status bar here, let's find the ones that are not ordered. So here we have a purchase order from NTP Distribution. We're going to double click that. Now because we have electronic communication set up with NTP, their header appears up here. Now that's one way that you can tell that you are ready to go to send these POs electronically. You'll see that on all of our other suppliers that we have electronic communications with, such as Stag, Coast, Onan, General Motors, Ford, and so forth. To give you a comparison, I'm going to minimize this down here to my current items box, and I'm going to open up one that we do not have manufacturer communication set up with. And now you can see a more generic header on the purchase order. Let's go back to our NTP. So we've got our line number, we've got our part numbers, quantity that we are planning on ordering, and the packaging ratio. So in this case here, there's 24 in the pack. So we are actually ordering 24 items, as you can see here in the ordering comments. Because of the packaging ratio, we're ordering one pack. There are going to be 24 items in that package, and we're going to break open that package and sell them as eaches. So our sales to ordering ratio is 24. We order one, we end up with 24 pieces to sell. And that's why it's telling us to order 24. So we can go through all of this information here. If this were a very long purchase order, I could use the yellow filter bar to find the items that I want, but in this case, it's just one item here. Let's go up here to the header and talk about a few pieces of information that we have here. If we wanted to change who we're going to order this part from, we would come up here into the search by, and it's currently set at company name, and maybe we'll say Coast. And we hit enter because Coast is our number one. And you can see here we have a Coast electronic order header. So that's how easy it is just to switch from a supplier. And we're back to NTP. If we need to get in and make some changes to NTP's telephone number, email address, and so forth, we can click the Add Modify Entity. Now Systems 2000's Infinity package uses an entity concept where all of your customers, suppliers, and employees are all in one database called an entity. And through that, they have different properties. So at this point, when I click Add Modify Entity, it's going to bring up NTP. And if you've watched any of the other videos for parts and service or finance and insurance or CRM, you'll notice that they had different tabs. This here is displaying the tabs that are associated with a parts supplier, which is the AP information, the personnel, the sales, and things that we have ordered from them, any tasks that I want to complete, and any parents and children. And parents and children are for when you're ordering from a very large corporation. We'll use General Motors for example. And General Motors has different divisions. They have a Chevrolet division and a Pontiac division. So under the GM header up here, you may have another parent called Chevrolet, and then following down another parent called Pontiac. Under the parents, you will have children. And those are employees and managers. So if I need to get directly to the Chevrolet division and know which employee I need to talk to over there, I would be able to click on the entity parent for Chevrolet division and then see all of the child records that come under that parent, which would be the managers. And then I could go ahead and open that entity up and make any type of communications with that entity directly. But in this case here, NTP is basically just one corporation, and we don't really have any children or parents associated with it. The Messages tab is very important. It collects all emails and notes that are associated with NTP Corporation and displays them, regardless of the user that puts them in. So if your accounting department contacted NTP regarding an invoice and typed in some notes, you would see those notes here. And likewise, if you placed an order or talked with somebody on the phone and typed in some notes about the order, that would be displayed. And then third, if you ever send an email to anybody at the NTP, those emails would also be listed in this Messages tab. Now, I don't have to go into Add Modify Entity to add a note. I can just click the Add Note button, and then I can type in what I need to notate. And I can also set these buttons right here to have prefixed phrases. For example, I just put a manager's alert by hitting the letter M. So you set these buttons up for your personal needs. They are user defined. So everybody in your organization can have different sayings associated with those buttons. And then I can just hit the OK button. And yes. And the note is then saved with the NTP supplier. If I want to create an alert for this PO, I just have to type in the message and click OK. Now we're going to close this PO, save our changes, and just open it back up. And you can see the alert pops up, and I have to just click OK. Now the really nice thing about this alert is it's going to be passed on to the receiving ticket. And then the receiving ticket will pass that alert on to accounting. So that alert is going to follow this transaction all the way down the trail and will always stay with this purchase order, the receiving ticket, and the accounting transaction. So regardless of the department that opens up the transaction and where they open it up, that alert is going to display why this PO is different than normal purchase orders. Now this is a standard purchase order, but we also have what we call transfer orders. And that's where you're going to transfer parts from one location to another. So by clicking the button, I'm going to select which location that I want the parts transferred from. So in this case here, if I said Systems 2000, which is our main location, it would be as if I am at a remote location. I am in location B, and I am calling out to location A and saying, please send me some parts, because I know that they have them in stock there. And instead of ordering them from NTP, I'm going to order them from my other location. Let's go back to a standard order, and we'll go back to NTP. You have the supplier's name and information here, and you have a little envelope. If I need to email information to this supplier, I can click the little mail envelope, and the email editor pops up. I can type in who I want to send it to, and any information about the email. Now, unlike a standard email editor, this email that was sent will be tagged directly to NTP's entity file. So when I would come back in to Add Modify Entities, go to the Messages tab, that's where I would see that email. You have Ship To addresses. You can click this button and you can start to add different shipping addresses. So if you have NTP and you're in the corporate headquarters of your dealership, and you're sending an order to NTP, you may want that order shipped to different locations. And this is where you would put the different locations that you would have NTP shipped to. If this is going to be a drop ship order, I can click the drop ship, and then I would come over and I would say ship to. And I could also select on my ship to from a drop-down any of the ship to addresses that I had already on file that I had created through the ship to addresses function. We have the company and profit center, so it's one company, but we're in profit center A, which is headquarters. And then we may have, under the same company, multiple profit centers or locations that we would order from. Current status of this parts purchase order is not ordered at this time. We can see the date that it was created. We have not ordered it, so there is no ordering date. And the expected delivery date based on how long this supplier normally takes to get product to us, is set on the system. You can do your shipping terms, and we can do the order type, and I could type in a description of what type of order that I want there. And then we may want to pick what ship to address that we'd have, which again would be built from this list here, and it would populate there. If we want to add in any shipping instructions or drop ship instructions as to attention of, we could do that on these tabs up here in the top right. Down in the bottom section, we have our totals. It shows our total on hand, orders, total available for sale. So in this case here, we're going to order this, and we'll end up with 24 of these coming in when we received them. We have some buttons down here in the footer of this purchase order. One is the history button. Clicking the history button shows us all of the changes that have been made. As you can see here, the part number was added, and it was added with a 0 retail price and was changed to a new value of $6.99. So we see what field was changed, we see the user that changed it, we see the old value and the new value, along with the date and time that that change was made. The View Allocation button jumps you right to the allocation screen, which shows you when all of these parts come in, they may have already been allocated to a specific customer for a special order, or allocated to the service department to go on to a specific RO for a job. Now, if I want to email this purchase order, I can click the email button. And if you notice here, there's already an attachment, and it's got 1927. So I can send this out, and that attachment happens to be purchase order 1927. So I can email a copy of this purchase order to suppliers that do not have electronic communications. I can click the print button, and this will print to a printer. I can even have it set up so that I can select the printer. So I may want to print to a fax printer, and that would fax the order over to the supplier. If I want to void this, I can click the void button, and then I have to give it a reason. The system will not allow me to void this ticket without giving a reason as to why I'm voiding it. And then we have the Order Now button. Since we're on electronic communications, we can click the Order Now, and this invoice will be shipped over to NTP electronically. Let's go ahead and hit the Order Now button. And we get an error message because I set this as drop ship and I never put any drop ship information in. But for demo purposes, I do not want to drop ship it. I want it shipped to us. And now it's going to ask me, do I want to send this order electronically to NTP? Click no for a standard Infinity order. And that would be where I would fax or email the purchase order in to them. If I say yes, it will be electronically ordered. Once we click the order button, the purchase order is transmitted or printed and then closes down and comes back to our list here. And we can now see that there's that purchase order, but its status is now in ordered status. If you're dealing with a supplier that allows you to modify an order that has already been ordered, and this is restricted to only types of suppliers that possibly you're faxing an order in and you want to regenerate the order with some more items on it, you could open this purchase order up. You see our alert pops up. We'll hit OK. And I can click the reopen button. And by reopening it, I can add items or change the quantity of the order, and then come down and send the reorder in with an adjustment.